there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hi. And oof for the dark screen. I meant this screen. Just to steer even more, Sarkaz's Furnaceside Fables. Ooh? Interesting theories. Ever since Monster dropped, some speculate that Tenant's house too might be Monster. Huh. Yeah, I don't see, like, sending our precious monster out. Hey, hello? Our precious baby monster. Oh yeah, speaking of monster, still gotta summon monster. And heck, even the drink itself avoided me today. At one point during work, I thought to myself, I feel like stopping by a vending machine to get myself a monster. The vending machine ends up being like under maintenance when I get there, and there's a worker there. I'm like, gosh darn it, what timing? No monster for me, even drink. So sad, so very sad. And now let's see what kind of mood I want to start off with. Or you know what? I feel tested by life, so let's just keep this one. Just because I personally feel that way. And now we start off with ending 4's reading, so let me just switch screens. 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! Okay, that should work. And I can see everything, so it's good. So starting off with a fated encounter. The black beast clamps its jaws down its prey's throat until it stops struggling and goes limp. Suddenly, it sees a flash of gold, a creature it has never seen before on the wastes. Under the sun, the strange creature's mane shines, its fangs and claws powerful. Curious, the black beast puts down the prey, locks eyes with this creature, and shares its prey with the creature. Obtain Doodle of Hope. Thousands of years later, the different races have become indistinguishable. Cooperation is how both sides can win. That is what everyone agrees on. Shifting city. Castle city structure defies logic. Road stretch based on intuition, and the scenery mirrors one's subconscious. Walking through it feels like reflecting on time and space. Consequently, many lose their way while the city itself watches countless bewildered travelers with great interest. Try to win over the city. You offer your plans to the city and soon find some resources. Were these left by the explorers before you? Or was it a reward from the city itself? Hey, hello? Lost treasure. In the crowded art salon, an artist introduces his oil paintings based on ancient legends to passing viewers. Which work would you like to hear about? Obtain Shards of the Untold Kings. A guardian of the Temple of Knowledge uses their phylactery to unveil the mysteries of life. A crazy Sarkaz mercenary saddles a revenant to sow chaos. A vexing beast aristocrat establishes a commercial empire with the furnace. An ancient feline wears the crown and subdues her own creator. Many stories remain unfolded within thoughts, waiting to be told. The ancient feline wearing the crown and subduing her own creator. Oh, I want to see that. I want to hear about the Far Chaser. The scene changes to a play, and you are its audience. Okay, I love how it's like a picture book. The Crowned Hunter. The Far Chaser was the first king of Sarkaz, the king of Tikaz. He was responsible for a series of important events that molded civilization as it is known today. He acquired both the first originium that molded the Tikaz into the image of man, and the black crown that granted the power of the king of Sarkaz. The Far Chaser began as a T-Cast hunter who refused to hunt his fellows, instead hunting for his tribe during a year famine. Because his actions were seen as transgression, kindness would weaken their tribe and lead to their demise. His fate was decided by the tribe, and he was punished with exile to the Silver Mountains, never to return. Despite the certain death of such a sentence, after surviving 3,000 days underground, the Silver Mountains brightened, and that particular T-Cast turned into a resemblance of a human being. He abandoned his exile and brought back the first Originium and the Black Crown to his tribe, and the two relics gave to them the image of language of man. The one-shunned exile was praised for his miraculous work, and he was crowned the King of T-Cast, to become the first of many kings of Sarkaz throughout Terra's tumultuous history. Throughout his 1,000 years of rule, the Far Chaser and his tribesmen set up the first Kasdalian civilization around the region of the Silver Mountains, and his kingdom prospered after uniting the other T-Cast tribes, gifting them humanity. But during the descending war against the Elders and the Ancients, where Castle faced potential ruin, the Far Chaser turned to multiple desperate measures to preserve their dwindling civilization, allowing his tribesmen to enter the forbidden, most hidden areas of the Silver Mountains to secure artifacts that would help them invent the first Originium arts in Terran history. By the time the final city-state of Casdale was besieged by the Elder Hegemons, the Far Chaser unleashed his last resort, the summoning of the Omninam, the first catastrophe. Legends say that the Far Chaser perished in the indiscriminate calamity alongside his enemies and loyal men, and his Black Crown went missing for the next 2,000 years during the Age of Exile. Thus, the only king of T-Cast and the first king of Sarkaz began a cycle that would span for multiple millennia. Dear viewers, looks like you have enjoyed this legend story. The audience has reached the conclusion, and now exiting the stage. Missing for a while. Like, dang. Like, this is a nice history lesson. Lost treasure. Which work would you like to hear about? The Far Chaser. What were the fates of our kings? What kind of fate did they have? Visage of crowned fates. Each king bears a unique fate and form. Goldell's silence. He stood at Casdale's highest point and turned to stone. The elder hegemons retreated upon witnessing his black crown, while the Sarkaz rejoiced. This spectacle they named King of Sarkaz endured for a long time, until the day the Sarkaz forgot their king and pushed the statue down with their own hands. Lost treasure. Belorsaka's arrogance. Lava obediently followed Belorsaka's army and spread across the land. They cared not for the elder hegemons, nor for the fellow Sarkaz. This land belongs to the Diablo, and there is no need for others. As their king, Belorsaka absolutely cannot allow the crown to fall on the head of another. King of Sarkaz's vessel. For those in this position, prosperity is but an illusion. The City Maker, the Sun Wielder, and the Errant Overlord. Such cool nicknames. Eh? They're best friends? The scenes changes to a play, and you are its audience. Oh, besties! Ooh! Oh no, is there gonna be betrayal between the besties? Uh-oh. The City Maker. Goldell, the City Maker, was the second king of Sarkaz, born 2,000 years after the Far Chaser, and remembered as one of the 3 sage kings of Sarkaz. He was a gargoyle whose ancestors were once constructed a marvelous arched garden during the First Castle era. During the Descending War, his ancestors cast an intricate curse upon the spilled blood of gargoyles to forbid the Elder's armies from approaching the Far Chaser's throne. From the Age of Exile to his birth, His surviving ancestors sought refuge inside a bleached castle that forbade other Sarkaz from entering, and Guldul was raised within to become the tribe's next leader. Guldul befriended Belorsaka and Tuilon, who rescued him from the blades of an attacking elder general. Together, they sought to find a safe refuge for the surviving Sarkaz by exploring a desolate, unexplored region of Terra dubbed Sorrow's Ground and building a new home. Aw, they're triple best friends! It was during the construction of their new settlement that Guldul was miraculously granted the Black Crown, marking him as the next king of Sarkaz. With his newfound authority, Guldul ordered a few hundred Sarkaz tribes to settle inside his castle, while assigning important positions of power to his two best friends, trusting in their wisdom. As his kingdom expanded, internal conflict was inevitable. The pacifist gargoyles and the warmongering Diablo Condemner clan began having disputes over external policy. Guldul refused to retaliate even after Belorsaka exposed Cabernet living within their communities. They were later executed on charges of espionage. He feared that a new war would put their kingdom at risk of destruction. Enraged with Guldul's cowardly decision, Belorsaka murdered Guldul, cutting off his arms and drowning him. With his death, the architecture and walls Guldul spent years creating using his arts quickly crumbled into dust. What a lonely end for a strong yet fragile heart. The story shifts to the next page. Well, that's how the besties end. Oof. Ah, so this is Mudrock's great grandpa. The Sun Wielder. Belorsaka the Sun Wielder was the third king of Sarkaz and one of the three sage kings of Sarkaz alongside Guldul and Tuilon. He was formerly a chieftain of the Condemner clan, the tribe of Diablo that accepted refugees from other tribes. His father, the former leader of the clan, was a firm advocate for war against the other races of Terra. As he distrusted and detested the elder hegemons, Belorsaka adopted even more radical views, believing that the Sarkaz could only return to glory as T-Kaz after eradicating all other races of invasive non-Sarkaz. During a battle against the invasive elder, Belorsaka aided Guldul together with Tuilon. Together, they formed a well-established trio. As a military leader of Guldul's kingdom, and a leader of the still radical Condemner clan, he maintained his aggressive views on expansion and defense through offense. Despite their long friendship, Belorsaka grew envious of Guldul's power, and enraged that Guldul refused to establish an army to wage war against the Elders. After numerous ideological clashes, an incident involving Cabernet secretly living within their kingdom caused emotions to boil over. A duel broke out between the two, culminating in the murder of Guldul and Belorsaka gaining the crown. You know, like based on how these guys are acting about Cabernet and stuff, I wonder how they'd feel about, you know, Hodor and Enos. Like, it'd be funny if these ancestors ended up seeing, like, their adorable relationship. Would they still be haters, or would they be like, okay, fine, you know, this is cute. And now more of the Sun Wielder. During his reign, Belorsaka actively plundered settlements of the Ancients and Elders, in line with his radical, revenge-driven views. These raids only worsened the world's perception of the Sarkaz. His rampage was brought to an end by Tuilon in the Bleached Wasteland during his campaign, and many Sarkaz chronicles narrate that Belorsaka was decapitated by Tuilon's sword. Before his death, he used the crown's power to invoke a prophecy. All kings of Sarkaz would forever face betrayal from those they trust. Wow, what a hater. Cursing everyone with that. What a hypocritical prophecy for a hypocrite king, yet his heart was sad as it were fierce. The story shifts to its final piece. The Errant Overlord. According to Castilian mythos, Chulon was the fourth king of Sarkaz and the first crossbreed Sarkaz to inherit the powers of the Black Crown. Though cloaked in mysticism and legend, stories claim his mere presence would drive enemies to flee, exerting overwhelming pressure on the minds of would-be challengers. He was most easily recognized by his weapon, the wrathful cerulean flame. To some, Chulon was a merciful despot, sparing those strong enough to retreat from him. To others, he was a brutal and unrelenting tyrant. Before ascending to kingship, Chulon was an adventurer who lived around 6000 BCE during the Age of Exile. He was born of Sarkaz outcasts, who had survived the invasion and were later taken in by the Diablos Condemner clan. Though he came from neither noble blood nor royal lineage, Chulon's swordsmanship was unparalleled, and he rarely relied on his originium arts in battle. He held a deep fascination with tales of larger-than-life heroes, regardless of which side they fought for, and longed to become one himself. Chulon was a close friend of Guldal, a gargoyle apprentice, fortress builder, and Belarsaka, a Diablo caster and son of the then lord of the Condemner clan. Their bond was forged years earlier when Chulon and the Condemner clan came to the aid of the gargoyles, after the armies of a powerful elder hegemon attacked Guldal's home fortress. Following the battle, the surviving gargoyles were integrated into the Condemner clan, and the three young Sarkaz grew into a tightly knit trio. However, their paths began to diverge when Guldal rose to become the new Sarkaz king and set about constructing a new castle atop what is now the Columbian Wastes. Chulon, meanwhile, continued his life as an adventurer, eventually serving as Guldal's royal messenger. Meanwhile, Belarsaka grew increasingly disillusioned with Guldal's decrees. Having inherited both his father's title and his radical worldview, Belarsaka believed that war against the invaders had been delayed for far too long, and retaliation was necessary for Castle's peace. Driven by his conviction, he led the Diablos in a coup d'etat against the newly established Castel. When an emergency report reached him, Chulon rushed back, only to find Castel engulfed in flames. Upon learning that Belarsaka had amputated Guldal's arms and drowned him to forcibly claim the Black Crown, Chulon saw no choice but to end the conflict himself, even if it meant killing the man he once called a sworn brother. Legend holds that the fierce battle between Chulon and Belarsaka took place near Castel's original site in the Bleached Wasteland, where Belarsaka had attempted to reclaim his territory and restore the lost glory to the other Tikaz. During their duel, the wrathful cerulean flame was shattered, but Chulon ultimately struck a decisive blow, piercing Belarsaka's throat and severing his head. Not long after, despite ignoring the Diablos King's dying curse, the Black Crown began to hover above Chulon's head. In that moment, all the Sarkaz present, including the surviving Diablos, laid down their arms. The clan leaders who had once sworn allegiance to the Diablo King knelt before Chulon, who had rightfully become the new king of Sarkaz. The Errant Overlord again. Chulon brought peace to Castel during his 300-year reign, devoting himself to healing the wounds left by the Diablos' coup. He restricted the autonomy of the individual Sarkaz tribes to prevent another rebellion and divided their hierarchy by canonizing their overlords based on bloodline, especially within clans composed of multiple tribes. Thereby, he established a basis for the Sarkaz royal court, with the aid of the gargoyles and the other allied clans. On top of that, he banished the Condemner clan and forbid them to enter the city ever again, but still let them retrieve Belarsaka's body. Oh, true. I wonder how he would also feel about Ifrit. A Cabernet turned Diablos. Like, oh man. And now back to the Errant Overlord. In his later years, Kazuo faced another attack from the elders, but Chuilan chose not to follow Barasaka's path of war. With the destruction of Kazuo a distinct possibility, and knowing the Western Tehran Hemisphere had become hostile to his people, Chuilan embarked on a journey eastward with several loyal Sarkaz tribes, some of whom were ancestors of the Anasa and Oni, hoping to find peace and coexist with the elders who showed no hostility. After this, he vanished from historical records. This is the ancestor of Nia manifested during her battle with Tallulah. To mean the Anasa Sarkaz would be his descendants? Aww. However, Mia's memories revealed a darker truth. Chuilan and his followers were betrayed by those who had initially welcomed them, leading to the massacre of Sarkaz civilians and the death of his wife. Oh no, not the wife! In response, Chuilan gave into his boundless wrath, slaughtering all who deceived them before ultimately taking his own life. Well, of course he's gonna go crazy at that point. His wife! If this is the end, come at me. I'll bring the end to you. To all of us. To myself. If this I will not permit myself to lay down my weapon, then I can only continue to fight until the end of time itself. Both the betrayal and the betrayed, yet still carries hope and trust. Such a heavy heart. The final piece is concluded. The audience may now return to where they came. Warm and cozy. One anecdote ends, and a new story is yet to begin. For now, what you see is just the warm flames of the furnace from your memories. Have a good rest. While the warm flames provide comfort, you're more captivated by the future that awaits. Before the new story unfolds, you decide to eagerly prepare for its arrival. Oof. You know, it was interesting learning about the trio. But I really want to know how these ancestors would feel about the current Cabernet. Like, mainly about Enos and Ifrit. Like, oh, it'd be interesting, it'd be entertaining. Like Ifrit trolling her cursed sword. And of course, Enos and her wholesome relationship. And now Grace before fire. Whether around a campfire, a bright lamp, or an energy-transporting furnace node, the Sarkaz can always find a place to gather, talk, and trade. Even in the gravest times, you and your group find an empty spot among the crowd and sit down, resting briefly and contemplating your next steps. Listen to an epic. The open-air theater is full of people, and you just can't wait to listen to a new Sarkaz epics. Lost and found. The origins. The hunter is now the hunted, shambling through the silver mounts. Each step brings him closer to death, but amidst the relentless metallic onslaught, something seems destined to lead him out of the lethal peril. And that something is, what are you willing to pursue for your story? A lotus petal. The petal floating on the water points east, hinting at the solution to the T-Kaz's troubles. Yet, the hunter sees only the water in the stone bowl. He drinks it all, then continues into the mountains. After the rain, the bowl refills, and the petal floats anew, awaiting the next traveler. T-Kaz or Nasa is but a thought apart. Obtain petal. Epiphany. You know almost nothing of the Sarkaz's eastern cousins. All you know is that Chuilan, the wrathful cerulean flame, met its end in distant lands after journeying eastward, where some Sarkaz chose to settle. To confirm this story, you pick up the bowl and head eastwards. Soul experiences unity of extremes. The Tin Man has gathered some scattered memories and reconstructed them into a story. Would you like to experience them? Yes, please, Tin Man. Toss the lotus petal into the tail. Which way will it head now? The lotus petal stirs ripples in the tail, dispersing the fog to reveal part of the story. The King of Sarkaz leads his people eastward. With each step, their suffering diminishes. When the lost king attains enlightenment, the Sarkaz becomes the Anasa. They vow to forever introspect and bring their revelations back west to save their kin. The journey home begins with a small boat. The boats come. One boat for the people, the other for the scriptures. The faithful cerulean lotuses will lead the Mahasattva of the Anasa home. Obtain Anasa's karma. His nature has changed, and his sword lies shattered. Yet the crystals of his body are an eternal reminder that his spirit still needs honing. Crystals may glimmer, and water may have no ripples. Dependent origination, the realization of Dharma. Katsidia's gates now swing wide. Possibility, story to be told. You notice a rift up in the corner of Kasdell, an immature and incomplete concept brought to life. You watch the scene unfolding inside the gap and decide to fill the gap with your plans. The gap expands until it replaces the original landscape. Meanwhile, a vague sense of connection spreads into your mind. Whatever it is, a new story begins. A small skiff. You consider paying your respects to a nearby temple, but can't find the way there. As you wander back and forth, you stumble upon a small boat among the reeds. The Anasa ferry woman is willing to take you to the temple for free, except there's only space for one more on her tiny boat. Work out a way. Have doodle of hope. How nice of her, traveling for free. How sweet. She takes the fortunate soul aboard and fades into the reeds. You notice that while she is focused, her movements are somewhat clumsy. As though unfamiliar with the local waters, after a long while, the boat returns. And your squad mate cannot help but excitedly share all they saw. This is how you learn the temple's essentially a treatment center for the infected. And a cemetery. And a cemetery. Oh no! Ooh! Hey, congratulations on getting Evernight. For me in Star Realm, still only summoning Saber. Good fortune to you. The resplendent temple enshrines a statue of an Anasa forged from dark steel. According to some ancients, worshipping by the road, the tripartite dark steel heavenly king presides over wealth and commerce. One need only speak a reverent prayer or rejoice in one's heart to receive his blessing, and good fortune shall come to you. Offer a prayer. Have doodle of hope. Once you finish paying your respects, a white-haired Kuranta priestess gives you a box wrapped in yellow silk, a gift from the temple for your patronage. As she returns to the rear courtyard, you catch a glimpse of a row upon neat rows of similar boxes wrapped in silk. It seems the true reason for this temple's popularity is its ability to trade faith for wealth. Oh, you think it might be Margaret? Sermon. Free yourself from worldly desires. Freedom included. Trilon has made his preparations for his debate with the storytellers. No matter their numbers or questions, he shall be there to the very end. I love how colorful it is. And what a group he has in the background. They're all so shiny. So pretty. Huh. And now to switch back. Okay. So next will be wisdom. An 18 of wisdom and 1 to 3 of wisdom. I got this. Let me set this up on my side. Okay, wisdom. him just sitting underneath the tree. Wisdom of Janana. A debate is like a battle. From the Anise weeping willows on the riverbanks to the plains on Casdale's outskirts, it is yet to reach a conclusion. Oh, Raiden is his sisters Raiden, Makoto, and Raiden A. So me? Huh. Oh man, I wish I knew more about Genshin. Thus, even though these westbound travelers had seen the temple sitting on the edge of Casdale, a step away from the story's ending, they still continue their search in their debates. I wonder how Mudrock is enjoying this. Among the Sarkaz who chose to travel with Trilon, Mudrock is the first to awaken to become a Nasa. She listens to the King of Sarkaz's teachings and strictly follows every commandment. A black ring of enlightenment arises from her asceticism. But this enlightenment does not free her. Rather, becoming a Nasa brings Mudrock even more confusion. Why does a black ring follow an Anasa's awakening? Why are the Sarkaz born into suffering? Her heart turns calm, but the questions only grow. She asks Shuilon whenever she gets a chance, but his answers only leave her with even more questions. Her journey of devotion has only just begun. As a bridge between the Revenants and the storytellers, Tin Man really involves himself with how a story develops. But this time, he's also part of the narrative. The suffering of the Revenant strikes deep in his soul, so he wants to see if this illusory method might free him from his ancient and irreversible shackles. Unfortunately, the practice does not seem to bring him any change. Fortunately, he realizes his fetters have already vanished since long before he entered the furnace. How could he achieve enlightenment if he is already free? He returns to his position, watching the storytellers narrate the tale. Though when faced with an interesting topic, he was willing to offer a few words, responding when the crowd refutes him before returning to silence. Nymph sees every change, and Anasa's black ring is more an inner recognition than a transformation. A Sarkaz seems to become an Anasa when they're willing to let go of the obsession with suffering hidden within the depths of their heart from birth. However, when Nymph opens her own heart, using a key to open up and scrutinize her dust-covered past, she fails to find her own suffering. Her pain seems to have gradually melted away as life in Castle improved. Nymph does not necessarily want to become a Nasa. To her, awakening does not grant any special ability. She simply wants to clarify one thing. What exactly is this self-attachment deep down in their hearts, what even a Dajjal has no inkling about? She is vexed by this. The enlightened King of Sarkaz enjoys a cool breeze under their trees, calmly accepting the changes of the land. The wind walking by his ears, the water running along the river, the soil being pushed by sprouts, the young flame lying dormant in his heart. Time brings drastic change and all things eventually evolve. The Holy Land is close at hand, but perhaps it may all be only ruin. Everything in this world is fleeting. Perhaps there's no difference between yourself and your discussions with your companions. But Chuilon continues to speak, to act. All that live to do so in hardship. So if he can bring them enlightenment with just a few words. The clouds disperse, and Chuilon slowly rises to his feet. Give us your wisdom, sir. One step before they complete their journey to the west, will Katidia be the end of the journey? Chuilon believes every one of his kin will have their own answer. They pick up their belongings and walk towards the Anasa's secret land. If the city can serve as an answer, then let it be so. And now for part 1. Yatra, or journey. And yeah, super duper chill. Oh gosh, my leg is asleep. Uh-oh. Oh, it's so uncomfortable right now. Ah! Do I forcefully move it to wake it up, or do I just let it fester? Eee! I hate that feeling. Oh, it is bothering me so much. Maybe just ignore it. You know, let's ignore it. Yatra, or journey. Out of the deep Ashoka woods and into a wasteland no ship can currently reach, thanks to the oasis meticulously tended to by the Anasa, the group manages to push on through crystal tides and thunderstruck plains. We are already where the thunder strikes the loudest, so we need only walk until we can hear it no more. You laugh at the sensation? You know, it's better to be a funny one than right now for me. Like, to me it feels like static. How I imagine static feels. And all prickly. Whenever it happens, I'm just like, I either cringe a bunch or I just forcefully move my limbs, like flail them. Right now, I don't feel like flailing. So I would just put up with the feeling. We're already where the thunder strikes the loudest, so we need only walk until we hear it no more. The Enlightened occasionally stops to calm Nymph down, as she often gets startled by the thunder and needs some time to get used to the environment. She's astonished to find plenty of other travelers on the path to the oasis, long-haired Nasa as well as other races, all whom seem to pay the local thunderstorm no mind. Is it a catastrophe causing all these lightning strikes? What if it hits the oasis? Why is no one worried about that? She asks. The Enlightened points to a roadside mound, and she notices, after some scrutinizing, several holes in its side. There seem to be windows, but no door. What is that? Bunkers once a refuge, by those who couldn't outrun the catastrophes. But I don't see any doors. Why would a window not serve as such? Wouldn't they get smashed by catastrophes? You found your way here to Katidia's outer reaches by turning thought into word. So why does your common sense still doubt these windows? Ugh. You said these are once used. What about now? Mudrock calmly takes over the role of asking questions. The thunder does not wait for the Enlightened to reply before coming to a sudden stop, and silence envelops the oasis instantly. Just as Nymph waits, unsure how to act, a bell rings from afar. At least, Nymph immediately thinks it's a bell, apparently familiar with the simple and dull metal-born sound. Which she thinks is odd, since there are no bells in Casdell. She should have found it unfamiliar. Then she finds herself back at the furnace's ceremony, exchanging equally surprised looks with her companions. The residents seem to be talking privately with each other from their tiny pockets of muddled yet intense conversations, the whispers echoing in her ears. She sees Tin Man turning his head towards her, and hears Mudrock's clothes rustling as she lifts her arm. She feels an urge to blink, her eyelids right about to fall shut. A half-second of darkness, and she finds herself back before the Enlightened. There are no traces of her companions. From the peak of Mount Anius to the heart of Lake Hyperion sit numerous monasteries of those without roots. They work when their bells ring and rest otherwise. These bells seem to originate from the source of all things, and their rings resonate through eternity, beckoning all those seeking westward to turn back and ordering those sweeping eastward to lay down their arms, and thus, Victorian Casdell have enjoyed a long period of peace. The Enlightened's narration does not seem to have been interrupted, but Nymph realizes the speaker had been waiting for her to return before continuing the tale. Now, the castle of old has become the Katidia of today, and it has struck a promise through the sound of bells with Lokad Hatu, the land where it resides. Likewise, we have drawn a line in the sand, defining how we should act with the Victorians, just like we have with Jan. Nymph feels the speaker's white eyes fixated on her. Even now, the Anasa's great bell has not sent you back. You once claimed yourself to be a Dajjal nymph. Do you still remain the same? Huh? Yes, that's me. Nymph senses that the Enlightened's expression shifts just slightly, but she's unable to make out how exactly. and I'm willing to use their abilities to understand it. Dharmas exist without adapting to Nidanas, and so will never be lost within illusions. Dajjal Nymph. It seems regardless of the chain of causation, you can enter Nagara Katidia. Follow me. Your story is yet to end, and I have more stories to tell as well. Ooh, more stories. Thirsty or wisdom. The Inasa share linguistic similarities with the Sarkaz, but there are plenty of differences. For example, they call this great land Lokadhatu and cities Nagara. Nagara Katidia in the Inasa language means city of Kazdel. The Inasa have many cities, with Katidia the largest and most important. It is stationed in the middle of Victoria, Ursus and Yan, and the Barrens ravaged year-round by catastrophes, and relies on artificial oases to connect with the outside world. These chains of oases have actually become the safest and most reliable paths connecting the three nations, and are called the Inasa Road. Interesting. Yeah, the Inasa storyline ending, that would be fun. With the country's cooperative efforts, the Inasa Road is developed and maintained to the standards of nomadic platforms, with the amount of goods and people flowing in and out increasing day by day. Katidia, being the core and starting point of this meeting hub, has seen both its permanent and transient population swell and become one of the largest metropolises in Eastern Terra. This orderly and tranquil land is, in reality, a bustling city. Cloud-covered ramps have replaced the ancient elevators, and those who step onto these platforms, enchanted by the wise silk-wielding Vidyadharas, will find themselves on the other side before they know it, not in the slightest bit winded. The huge city walls planted by the children of soil and stone in days past to remain, but are now covered with lush plants, the original colors nearly indistinguishable. Today, the wall's builders are mostly busy with maintaining the newly constructed aerial plates. Fire Dharmapalas, born with huge horns, patrol every road in the city, but their main job is no longer maintaining public order. They ensure fire safety in the city, answer inquiries from tourists, and also put on fierce faces as they pose for photos together with the children. Oh, I love that! That is adorable. Groups of felines and libraries enter and exit cars parked outside the city and its connected platforms. A melting pot of races with various ears and horns live and work together inside the city's buildings and parks. And viharas, situated on higher ground, clerics with halos and monks with black rings behind their heads, debate on the finer distinctions between Lateran law and Anasa doctrine. Regular Anasa, together with people of all races, make up the diverse population of the city. Ooh, what a melting pot! Overlooking everything is Kasidia's bell tower, standing on the city's highest plate, and its only forbidden area. Most are only aware of its existence and have heard the bell, but never actually seen it in person. Dajjal Nymph, do you find the city's bell tower familiar? No, not at all. But it looks just like... Like Kazil's soul furnace. To my knowledge, the Kazil of the past has never built anything with its name. The Inasa built the bell tower you see before you, and it's always been a bell tower. Just as always, the Enlightened walks forward while Nymph follows behind with small, quick steps. Do you recognize these statues? In front of the bell tower, that to Nymph, looks identical to the soul furnace, is an empty square paved with only bricks and stone, and the usual greenery one can see everywhere else in the city is nowhere to be found. Four towering white statues stand within, their expressions peacefully directed towards the bare ground. They look familiar, but it's not just coming to mind. To us. They are the all four kings of old, from before the Inasa became enlightened. All four? In other words, these sculptures depict the four kings of Sarkaz, the ancient far chaser and his three successors. Oh, right. Right, they got mentioned in a lot of stories. It should be Guldal, the city maker, Balarsaka, the sun wielder, and Nymph's eyes go wide. She has never heard the Enlightened's name back when she first entered the illusory plane, but only now remembers its significance. Trilon, the wrathful Trilon, the wrathful cerulean flame. Me. The Enlightened stops in his tracks and looks at the statues, speaking with the same calm tone as when he first introduced himself by the riverbank. With the weeping willows, a black crown appears atop his head. Nymph knows what it means.
This crown has nothing to do with the story I wish to tell. But I know you're curious about it. Ask away.
Where it come from, there's a story called The Firestarter's Betrayal, which tells of 3 successors to the King of Sarkaz who used to be friends, but then betrayed and killed each other. Nymph tells the Enlightened the stories of the Trilon she knows.
If the characters in your story were in fact modeled on our 3, then indeed such an incident occurred in this very realm.
The Enlightened listens to the entirety of Nymph's tale before pointing to its crown as if thinking about something.
The other 2 involved are in here too. I can confirm in their stead that most of your tale stands true.
He pauses and then laughs heartily.
But Osaka wants to clarify that he later regretted his impulsiveness and hopes his foreign compatriots do not regard him as an unrepentant, jealous, and irascible Diablo. But let us be honest, he's always been all that, and there is no need for you to mend his reputation.
The Enlightened tilts his head as if suddenly interrupted.
Yes, he's right, because that's exactly how it happened, so you should let others know that the Diablo acknowledges his error, but does not regret his actions, ha ha.
The Enlightened smile drops just slightly, and he continues with a gentle tone.
All in the past, all bygones, the moment each of us wore this crown. We were later freed from it, but I was the last of us standing, so due to karma, it remained on my head. However, it allows me to realize my ideals, to carry out my duty. It granted me the lifespan to live even now. I think I would have long departed this realm had it not guided me aboard that ship back then. But to the Inasa today, this crown of black tells only who I am, and has long since lost its symbolic meaning. To me, there could be nothing better, but the origin of the rootless ones is almost certainly not why you remain.
The Enlightened looks at Nymph once again, but does not respond to inquiring gaze. He turns towards the bell tower, or rather the furnace.
Follow me inside. My story awaits you within.
Then he then walks past the 4 statues. You know, I like how his friends in the crown are just like, you know what? I'm sorry for being so hot-headed before. My bad. I will own up to my mistakes. Oop. Just oop. And hey, hello, welcome, welcome. Thank you for the raid. I hope your stream went by well. Now for Vimukti, or answer. The interior of the bell tower appears exactly the same as the soul furnace in Nymph's memories. Mottled metal walls, exposed energy pipes, damaged exhausts in disrepair. Every path and every corner shares the same look. Nymph even feels as if she can faintly hear the revenants chatter. The Enlightened asks,
Dijon Nymph, tell me, what do you picture from the hall and corridors of this bell tower?
It still looks like Castle's soul furnace. We're in the maintenance passage leading to its core. The walls look like they've been patched up with scraps of Oiran over the last 2 centuries. There are dimly glowing originium lamps, and the place even smells familiar. I can hardly believe it.
We've undoubtedly been walking alongside each other, but all I see are the bright white walls and the relief sculpted by the Inasa.
But
is that a problem? We've been traveling together, so surely we can reach our destination together as well.
The Enlightened leads Nymph as they navigate the passages she is most familiar with. They pass through the final door, entering the ritual site from her memories. The same place where she, her companions, and their ancestors crafted these illusions with their stories. There is no one else around, but something is burning quietly inside the furnace. They soon sit on the ground, the furnace flames warming her up.
Dijon Nymph, tell me, why have you followed me here?
The Enlightened asks again. Because you said you had stories to tell me? Also, I think you might know how to send me back to my original castle?
You have such a concrete goal, and my words have become your motivation. If you were a layperson wishing to become a true Anasa, I might have deemed you unsuitable and said only by letting go of what you see can you escape the myriad soul cycle. However, that is not the case here. So I will say, you're correct. I have a story for you, and afterward, I shall send you back.
Nymph nods. She has long since prepared for this.
Let us begin from the story. An extremely short tale.
Hello? After Chuilon awakened, he made a friend. The friend was a great Pandita, an erudite sage and scientist. The Pandita cast the very first spell and spread the method throughout Lokanhatu. With the sound of the bells, both people and nature were able to promise each other not to do the other harm. But even such a great Pandita had no choice but to say this to Chuilon. Sahasra Sahasra Loka. The living must die, and the cycle of reincarnation must end. The same goes for calamity, but I am unable and willing to eliminate it. Chuilon closed his eyes and answered with a single word. On hearing it, the great Pandita had a sudden realization and walked the same path as Chuilon, spreading the ways of enlightenment, guiding souls out of the myriad souls cycle of reincarnation. Thus, the enlightened continue to emerge. The great Pandita then told Chuilon, I have done all that I can, and now I shall take my leave. What a wonder to peacefully exist outside the laws of Dharma, to perhaps not lose yourself within fleeting illusions. Wonderful! Those were the last words of the great Pandita. After that, the Pandita left, to whereabouts unknown. This happened a century or perhaps a millennium ago. The end. The Enlightened finishes his story in just a moment. May I ask, what was I supposed to learn from that story? Oh, haven't read through ending 5 yet. To be honest, Nymph didn't get it at all.
Dajjal Nymph, you firmly believe that by weaving your words, you've come to or even created this realm. I do not doubt this at all. Your words linger here. And I can not only hear, but also feel the waves they make as they construct everything in this realm. All life and death are inseparably close with each other. You were also confused when I described how the 4 kings came to be. Perhaps you know of more than 4 who have donned a crown of black. This implies a Chuilon from your land. The true Chuilon is someone dead to you. But that does not matter. The Anasa do not cling to the existence or annihilation of any form, nor to where they come from or where they go. That is precisely why the city maker did not ask how your castle was faring, nor did the far chaser ask if his guards were safe and sound.
Nymph feels the scene before her waver for just a moment.
The waves are rising once more.
The Enlightened smiles slightly.
So worry not about how Katsidia appears. You're ready in your furnace, while I remain in my bell tower. We have no karmic ties, and wheresoever Katsidia goes will not be affected by your actions.
So you mean, even if the illusion turns to reality again, I don't have to regard it as something I actually created, and I don't need to let it burden me mentally?
You, or all of you, it is the same. This is the first to learn here from.
And you, the second?
Do you still remember the final words of the great Pandita?
You mean, what a wonder to peacefully exist outside the laws of Dharma, to perhaps not lose yourself within fleeting illusions?
Good. I hope you take those words back with you as is. This is the second.
But, sorry, I don't understand what it means, and you haven't explained anything either.
Enlightenment need not occur on a fixed date. Just remembering it will suffice.
The Enlightened finishes and stands. Nymph understands that time has come. I like how it's just like, nah, I'm not gonna explain to you. Figure it out your own, Nymph. It's like, but, no? Okay, well, He is lucky number 7. Adorable. The enlightened finishes and stands. Nymph understands the time has come. Then please, could you at least tell me what you said to enlighten the great Pandita?
I already told you. Just recall it.
The enlightened reaches out to pull Nymph up, and a bell seems to ring, resounding from everywhere around them at the exact same time.
When you have your answer, tell it to your companions. How we converse is Katidia's solution to survival.
The enlightened shouts out these words, and that is the very last sentence Nymph hears in Katidia. Well, this place seemed pretty peaceful. This is probably like the most chill place out of the ones that we visited so far. And now for Jiayun's storyteller record. Okay. And yeah, the first outblood king of Sarkaz. I purchased a Mia. Okay, there she is. Number 5 file. Leave thy route behind. Jiayun steps foot onto the road to Nagara Katidia. Part 1. With the Nagara named Katidia complete, the Anasa begin their journey. They carry nothing in their arms or on their backs. As they walk, they see only endless catastrophe, devastating disease, and spreading famine. They seek the city shrouded in catastrophe year-round, and the wisdom in its great bell tower allowing all beings to break free of suffering. Jiayun carries a heavy backpack, following along behind her people. They cross mounts, ford rivers, navigate deep ravines, and fight catastrophes. But the further they go, the lighter her backpack feels. She looks behind her. It seems she overstuffed it. It had split during the trials and tribulations of the long road, and one by one, her things had fallen out. She hefts her lightened burden and begins to walk in the opposite direction. Why do you turn back, my child? Because all my things fell out of my pack. Are you going to look for them, my child? They're important. You will not be able to follow us, my child. I'll catch up afterwards. Jiayun walks back the way they came. There on the road, she finds a flower she dropped. The day that the heroine touched her forehead and gave her the name Jiayun, the desert wind brought a flower from who knows where straight into her hand. She places it back in her pack, but it's still too light. Jiayun continues walking back. There in the road, she finds a short sword. The day she put her all into throwing one last punch at the unparalleled martial artist. Her heart was so full to bursting with joy. She places it back in her pack, but it's still too light. Jiayun continues walking back to where she started. She picks up a piece of broken porcelain, a crude bowl used in the last drunken brawl at the sword forge. She picks up a piece of originium, a gift from the ship that sails across the land. She picks up a piece of bark inscribed with words, a sign left by an old tree to guide her when she was lost in the snowfields of the far north. Only once the sun and moons have chased each other across the sky for several turns is her pack heavy once more. How long was stuff falling out of her bag before she noticed? She knows she has managed to retrieve everything. She turns and traces her footsteps, once more walking the road that all Nasa should walk, to Nagara Katidia, where she will meet with her people. I wonder which Jiayun. Though no matter what, she still has all of her nice belongings, including the thing from the drunken brawl. That cup. She returns to where she parted with them, where the Ashoka woods offer them shade. The sacred land is within sight, yet her people were gone, their footprints erased in the road. A bell tolls, and Jiayun knows they have reached their destination, but she cannot see the bell tower, nor the path that leads to it. She eagerly searches amongst the trees of the Ashoka woods. She asks Sarkaz travelers on the same road if they have seen anything. She calls out to the names of those who have entered and thinks back to the teachings they imparted as they walked. But the bell tower remains unreachable with silence. Day after day, she paces back and forth within the woods. Like a foul beast abandoned by its parents, She cannot find the entrance nor any explanation. The pack on her shoulders gets heavier and heavier, until she finds herself unable to take another step. She sits beneath a tree. The Inasa girl who carries everything on her back cannot see the gate to the bell tower. Part 2. Beneath the lush Ashoka tree, Ji-yoon shoulders her heavy backpack. She sits quietly, her legs crossed. There was once a foul beast who traveled alongside her. Together, they cross the land and the nomadic cities. She pours her spirit into it, and so when it hungers, she too hungers. When it cries, she too feels sorrow. When its young hatch, she too feels joy. When it dies, of age, its body turns to ash, and Ji-yoon's spirit returns to the forest. There was once a boulder that held back a raging river as she forded it. She becomes a boulder, feeling the endless torrent of water erode her way, feeling the trampling feet of travelers, providing shade to passing Finns, before finally crumbling away as summer turns to winter, becoming a slew of pebbles strewn across the riverbed. Ji-yoon returns once more to the woods. She now understands that, whether living or not, all things fade away. Nothing can be brought along. Raging waves turn to sea, and the seaborn lift themselves aloft, casting off their ocean-going forms to fly off into the sky. Oh, there goes the jellyfish. Ji-yoon says to her fellow seaborn, "You've given up your form." The seaborn replied that they have always been giving up their forms, changing from one to another, so that they can ascend to the heavens during the day. Then Ji-yoon understands that form is meant to be abandoned. Hey, hello. Rootless flowers bloom intensely across the ice field, and demons scatter across the land. Ji-yoon says to her fellow demons, "You have no thoughts worthy of this land." The demons do not respond, continuing their eternal existence where they stand. Then Ji-yoon understands that thoughts are meant to be abandoned. Ji-yoon finally opens her eyes. She has been a foul beast, a boulder, a flying seaborn, a chaotic demon, and now she returns to herself. As she has found the answer, she stops her self-interrogation, her backpack still as heavy as ever. It seems she is now able to make out the vague outline of the bell tower, but still cannot find its gate. A seaborn that was wandering the Ashoka woods has been standing by Ji-yoon's side for a while now, its head bowed. It has heard all her questions and all her answers. A sudden sensation of heat begins to spread from behind its head. The seaborn extends an arm, then another, and yet another, filling at the back of its own head. There is a black ring there, though it does not know when it appeared. It was enlightened by Ji-yoon's words, and its 8 limbs now stroke at its new black ring with joy. The bell tolls, and it walks into the tower. Ji-yoon begins to pace back and forth within the Ashoka woods. Wow! I love how the seaborn's like, "Oh! What a wonderful story you told me." Reaches enlightenment. "Oh! The tower has appeared before me. Bye, Ji-yoon!" And then Ji-yoon just lives in the forest again. Oof. I feel kind of bad for Ji-yoon. She's just like, "Okay, so what do I do to be able to enter the tower? I wonder, maybe if I live this life, live this life, live this life. Nope, still not entering the tower. I can see it, but I can't get in." And now part 3. As Ji-yoon wanders the Ashoka woods, she realizes that what she must do to enter the bell tower before her. She believes the seaborn just now had given up its past, its belongings, the form that evolution had bestowed upon it, and the experiences and thoughts it once held dear. All of that had been abandoned, but she still carries her heavy pack. She asks herself, "Is this backpack important to me? Why will I not abandon it?" She then immediately realizes, "I cannot do so, because the things inside are the connections between me and the others. This flower is a name Shufu gave me. I'm very fond of it. This piece of broken porcelain is a sword forge where I drank, fought and sang songs. It is very dear to me. The short sword is a man who is peerless in his kung fu. I now understand why he chose to leave. This Originium is a landship where I met many of my friends. Along this road, I've come across many. The things they left behind were these rocks, ribbons, flowers, and feathers. I do not wish to give these up. Jie-Yoon now understands completely. She looks all around her, an enlightened smile on her face. The black ring behind her head spins in all its magnificence. Thunder rolls, faint yet present. I understand that I should give up my form, my thoughts, all that I have. I understand that I need only let them go. Then I can follow my people into the bell tower. But she turns, continuing to carry her heavy pack. She turns her back on the tower. But I have my answer. I will not put it down. If I must give these up to enter, then I'd rather not enter at all. Aww. That is bittersweet. That is extremely bittersweet. It's like, as much as I want to go with the others, it's like I can't let go. Ouch. Jie-Yoon takes a step free from worry. She is now one with a clear view of the road, both behind her and ahead of her. She walks, away from the bell tower. Bong! The toll of the great bell resounds across the Ashoka woods. At the foot of the bell tower, but the Inasa girl has long since gone. She still carries her heavy pack, but behind her, the gate to the tower slowly opens. She has made her choice. Oh man. I want to see like some of the others that are in this bell tower now. And okay, second half will be part 2 of the end. Okay. Part 2 of the end. Farewell and goodbye. The day that Tin Man left Casdell, Nymph and the other storytellers went outside the city to see him off. The dreams seemed to linger in them. None knew what to say at a time like this. They stared at each other under the sun, and the workers moving stone on the walls laughed at them during break time for standing out here on such a hot day. It was Tin Man who broke the silence. He shows off his newly bought knit shirt, with a mini soul furnace embroidered on the chest. Nymph is impressed by the metal body's heat dissipation capability, while Clowny recognizes the shirt as being from her stall. At the end of the farewell, Nymph presents a gift on behalf of the group, a box of potato fries sculpted using scrap Oriron from the Great Furnace. Tin Man laughs and says being a box of fries wouldn't be so bad if you'd never found an appropriate body.
Farewell. I'll be back once my work in Columbia's done. I just hope I'll still recognize Kazo by then.
Tin Man lights a pipe and walks into the wilderness. The 3 tin friends on his shoulders snatch at his hat and play catch with it in the air. Aw, they're just having fun now. A month later, Kalisa left without telling anyone. There's a box and a letter where the hut used to be. The box is filled with ointments and a single garland. The witchcraft on the garland has been removed, but it remains beautiful. In the letter, Kalisa asks Nymph to bring the ointments to the Notchzera soldiers working on a new plate outside the city. She has officiated funerals for the fallen comrades, and the ointment soothes the pain of the survivors. The pain the survivors suffer from their rotting skin. Ouch. At the end of the letter, she asks Nymph to forgive her abrupt departure, for she did not want to experience the awkwardness of Tin Man's farewell again. She believed that the secret to soothing the pain of the Notchzera awaited her in Sami, but will continue to look toward Kazo from the wind and the snow. Nymph had returned to the Great Furnace to tell the revenants more stories, and the symptoms of furnace syndrome had faded. But reading the letter put tears to her eyes, Crowny comforted her by saying that she would always visit Sami in the furnace while telling stories to the ancestors. In time, the Soul Furnace's renovation was completed, and the revenants left. Crowny once again packed her luggage. This time, she is really leaving. The storytellers once again gathered under the walls to see their friend off. The walls are now fitted with brand new arts defense units. And there were no longer any workers to laugh at them. Nymph grabbed Crownie's sleeves and cried, "The ancestors have gone, and now you too!" Crownie pins a rose-shaped hairpin on Nymph's head and places a garnet necklace around her neck. She steps backwards twice, takes a good look, and smiles. "Don't cry. I'm really proud of this work, but it only goes well with a smiling face." No longer was Crownie seeking the legendary lost city. She had brought her designs and was planning to apply to be a designer at the sportswear brand. She was not afraid of failure, she said. She still had her souvenir business in Castle after all. The city was changing by the day. It might not be long before tourists started flocking here. And indeed, there were new faces in Castle soon after Crownie left. Not tourists though, but infected of all races who moved in from the settlement outside the city. There was enough space for new accommodations, and the expanded vertical farms could feed more people. Even the ashes of the furnace nodes had more potatoes in them. Cole told Nymph that this was how every prosperous city was. People come and go. Castle was not yet prosperous, but who knows what could happen tomorrow. Nymph had planned to ask Mudrock when she was planning to leave, but left the question unasked when she saw the rows of houses behind Mudrock and vegetables growing at the soil of the gardens beside them. She gave Mudrock a big box of protective gear, which Crownie had sent through Penguin Logistics. "What should we do now? Do we see her leave?" Nymph asks Pole as she helps him load his belongings onto a cart heading towards the new employee housing next to the Rhodes Island office. Instead of answering, Pole takes a booklet full of numbers from the cart and points out a few figures. New seeds had just been planted, and the previous season's crops had yet to be harvested, but mortality rates among the elderly were down significantly from previous years because there was enough food and water to go around. The decrease in the overall percentage of the elderly was instead because more and more young people were coming to Castel, who were not only self-sufficient but also helping to make the city a better place. Oh, this is so nice so far! Ooh. You think it'd be about like a few months? Oh man. I feel like it continued for a while. At least a few months, maybe even a year. Like, I don't think the ancestors are gonna be satisfied with just a couple months or a few months worth of stories. She turns around to look at the Great Furnace. It does not appear any different from how it used to be before the remnants left, but Omnodon burns quietly within. Energy flows from the furnace to the pipelines and towards the furnace nodes. In the flickering flames, Nymph could sense the breath of the city, a city that never stops growing. Her bloodline is as resilient as it is ancient. It is a city that has many exciting new stories to tell. Well, this is hopeful so far. Okay, now for Civilite Eternal, Logos, and then Surtur. Hello, Logos. File number 6. Rhythm between death and life. The bridge across death and life. Part 1. Light has long since left, driven by the singular desire to survive. The concept of hatred has been eradicated. From the surface, all life on Terra begins to die. Desperate, its dwellers dig deeper in search of an escape. They know that if they burrow too far, liquid fire will erupt and consume them alive. But they no longer care. Their instinct to live commands them, and they will blindly follow until they waste away in futility and agony. Ephaniel wraps his tattered clothes tighter around himself as he ascends the staircase. His footsteps echo softly, leaving a long trail in the dust. Behind him, another figure follows like a shadow. Together, the duo makes their long climb to the surface. The air changes from warm to stifling to devoid of all life. The singer of death wishes to sing one final song for himself, and his companion hopes to hear its melody. And so, the two madmen form an ill-fated alliance in their march towards oblivion. Their wishes will soon be granted. What happened to the wholesomeness? During their last rest, the Banshee and his Sarkaz companions sit together and use the remaining light source. In the flickering glow, the Banshee sees his companion for what may be the final time. He has cut off his horns and wrapped himself heavily in bandages. The lenses of his sunglasses have shattered, leaving only the frame. A comical sight. Weapons are useless in this dying world, so he discarded his sniper crossbow, keeping only its aiming scope to better observe the approach of death. In the eyes of his companion, the Banshee fares no better. His ear tufts have transformed into a helmet of sorts. His body is almost entirely covered in originium, as if he might crumble into dust at any moment. At this point, it is neither his brain nor his heart that keeps him alive, but the very originium consuming him. Neither of them speaks. They simply look at each other. Then at the light, it flickers, shimmers, and finally goes out. As the last afterimage from the light vanishes from their retinas, two hands, one wrapped in bandages, the other covered in originium, clasped together. They help each other up and stumble onward. What the heck happened? Hours or days have passed, but the road gradually grows more even. Their eyes see only darkness, their ears hear only the hollow echo of death, and they feel nothing at all. The Banshee takes a step back, unsure if his companion is still there. There is no one behind him. Is he still waiting, or has he left? Nathaniel does not know. He can feel the little parts of his body that are still flesh crystallized, and so he sings the song of the Banshee. A stream of air travels out of his depleted lungs, past his vocal cords, and through his crystallized lips. It sweeps past the lens, still clutched in his companion's hand, carries away the remaining heat of the dying planet, and drifts into the dark nothingness that has long remained still. At this moment, matter ceases to exist. Only the lingering voice of a man echoes in the silence. Listen, this is the song of Nathaniel. Well... Logos, what the heck are you going on about? We have so many wholesome stories tonight, and then all of a sudden it's just like apocalyptic world where everything's dying. Two friends go on the last journey together and then die. I wonder who the friend is with the sunglasses. Part 2. The University of Kazo offers an unusual course on originium arts with a specific focus on singing arts. Professor Nathaniel of the Banshee Court is an expert in the field, and thanks to his painstaking efforts in assembling, recombining, and defining ancient Sarkaz incantations, the basics of these esoteric techniques, once limited to the Banshees, can now be learned by anyone. Before class begins, Nathaniel includes a hidden pre-lesson test in his greetings to the students. As usual, those who fail to recognize it for what it is and respond with a specific syllable are struck by a temporary curse, forcing them to raise their hands for a minute. During this time, his aides distribute the day's teaching materials. What kind of song is a Banshee song really? This is no doubt a topic of great interest to the students, Sarkaz and non-Sarkaz alike. Nathaniel uses his bone pen to write on the backboard in mid-air while demonstrating an ancient tune. At first, the song is soundless. He sings a short passage, then stops, avoiding harming the students with sound waves they cannot hear. This is a song exclusive to the Banshees, used to call friends to their side when hunting and slaying prey. When the Banshees joined the ranks of the Tikaz, their songs changed with them. They invented a peculiar rhythm somewhere between weeping and a shriek. From that moment on, death constructed from speech and script became reality. Upon hearing this noise, all living would know the knell had been sounded. The Banshee song has gone through long periods of evolution and research since then, giving rise to a diverse variety of forms. Nathaniel clears his throat and demonstrates several of them. A piercing whistle can penetrate skulls, deep and mellow sleep-talking, barely audible murmuring, and a soothing, captivating melody. Every Banshee is a master of their particular meter and mode, and the elegiac court of old is now as bright and beautiful as the convalescence they dwell in. I'd want to go to his class. This would be fun. When the lesson is over, Nathaniel returns to his office, where his apprentice has been waiting for him. She is here to say goodbye. After 3 years of studies, her thesis on the link between singing arts and modern medical techniques was noticed by Babel. She's about to embark on a journey, starting the next chapter of her life as a reserve operator. Before she leaves, her teacher has a gift for her. The Banshee bids his apprentice stand in front of the wall covered in symbols. This is his most important lesson, a Banshee score known as the Guide. Whenever a student completes their studies and leaves campus for the last time, he sings a song for them. The office is dead silent. After taking a deep breath, a low melody resonates from his nasal cavity. It repeats a few times, then is joined by his voice flowing from his throat. He brandishes his bone pen, circling his student with it 2.5 times. Once he sings the final symbol on the wall, the guide is finally concluded. The student sees it as no more than her teacher's farewell ceremony and moves to express her gratitude. However, when she opens her mouth, her words become song, and a symbol lights up on the score. Nathaniel immediately steps forward and marks it.
From now on, this is your symbol.
With a wave of his bone pen, several other marked symbols change color. It is clear her seniors have also been subject to this prank from their teacher. I've been learning under your guidance for so many years, Professor. Why have you never told me how this works? Upon hearing his students grumbling, Nathaniel feels a slight tug at the corner of his mouth.
This is a Banshee song. Even if you understood every symbol, you would not be able to sing it. Besides, it is not yet complete.
Doubt clouds the student's face. She can hardly believe that her advisor, one who has reached the pinnacle of both arts and song, would be willing to show others an incomplete work.
Don't get me wrong, I've already pushed my Banshee techniques as far as I can go for this. But this is a song that points the way. With only one voice, it cannot be considered complete. Please remember that symbol.
Nathaniel repeats its pronunciation, and once the student commits it to memory, he continues.
Turn it into your song. That is my request. When the land has a need for us, you will sing it unbidden. It is a song that resonates between all life.
I wonder how the chorus would sound once everyone gets a symbol. Or all the symbols are claimed. I would love that. It's like, dear Banshee Prince, we may be rickety old men, but that even too dark even for us. It's like, okay, fine. Let's do a slice of life then. Here you go. And are we gonna go back to Edgy for part 3? Part 3. He does not remember who he is, nor from whence he came. He simply wanders endlessly through this silent, colorless, unresponsive, and empty world, bewildered, confused. But that is only natural, as meaning is yet to come. Then, out of nowhere, comes a sigh. A wind blows past him, fading as quickly as it arrived. He remembers the rippling of his skin in the wind. He remembers direction. He steps forward, towards the change. He hears a voice for the first time. In the place he cannot reach. The place that seems to be called the sky. There's a faint murmuring. It is indistinct, but he can tell that the voices are many. He wants to hear them with clarity, so he continues walking towards them. From a mass of murmurs to whispers, the voice gets clearer. He feels something under his feet. There is now a clear boundary between black and gray. And it is at this moment that he senses himself stepping on that boundary. One further step, he will fall into the familiar black chaos. The gray expanse behind him is the road he has just walked. Familiarity, safety, these concepts that make him stop going further. Perhaps soon enough, he will return to his wandering. The voices in the sky become falling snowflakes, the delicate whiteness building a broken bridge at the boundary. Color urges him onwards. The unknown at the end of the bridge bids him to stop. As he hesitates, the hum of the snowflakes becomes speech. Go, go. Even if you fall into the abyss, I will be with you. Companionship. This new concept gives him courage, and he walks atop the broken bridge of snow. With every step, the road behind him collapses in a cacophony. Ahead, a thin layer of ice forms. With every step, the voice grows clearer. It is not the voice of another. It is his own. As he breathes, his heart pulses, beating like a drum. With every stride, his surroundings grows brighter. The colors less muted, and more of himself appears. He runs, until the dark is left behind him. A wail shakes the universe. The baby's out. The baby's out, like her Madeline. It's a boy! So this is how he was born? Logos' origin story. Happy birthday, Logos! Did not expect it to end with his birth. Truly happy birthday, boy! I know, right? Full horror, all the way, wholesome slice of life all the way. And oops, forgot about... Okay, now we'll go for this one. File number 4, Poems of the Non-Tuned... What is that? Oh gosh. What is that word? Is it non-tuned echo? I'm assuming echo? As an epoch draws to a close, she chooses to embrace a unique poem for herself. Part 1. When the core of the land breathes for a third time, a thought will return to the flames. That is when he'll welcome death with open arms, but before that, he must complete his duty to compose an ode for the next thought to come after, so that it may sing for the breath, just as he obtained enlightenment from his ancestor, who has already returned to the flames. From the breath of the land he was born, and in the breath of the land he will rest. This is every thought's entire life. And now, he looks within, counting the drops of black rain passing through his formless body. This is the only way he can sense the passage of time. He's always wondered which thought was the one to come up with this idea. Ah, the first of my ancestors to sense time must have been able to experience many emotions I cannot in the span of 3 breaths. This might be the Revenant from Trulan's Casdell. A distinct emotion, an experience named desire, with past thoughts, causes an instant of fluctuation from within him. But just as quickly, he returns to tranquility. The enlightenment left by his ancestors included many ways to shield himself from such disturbances. There are more important matters to focus on. He has not yet completed his duty after all. Dividing his attention to look within and sense the passage of time does not slow him. He continues on as he always had, breaking apart the music of the land's exhalation into its component syllables. And then he sings. I should be able to complete my record before I return to the flames, but there is no difference between the recombined syllables he used to record the patterns of this breath and the ones left behind by every single one of his ancestors. The same song repeated over and over, thought after thought. Change is what every thought treasured the most, longed for the most. Tragically, the last time a thought was able to notice a record of change was nearly 100 million breaths ago. Even if the breath is now immutable, I shall not give up. He does not despair, after all. Such a dangerous emotion had long since been noted as excised by past thoughts. During a dark age stretching for hundreds of breaths, many generations of thoughts fell to despair and gave up singing. It nearly snuffed out the possibility of subsequent thoughts accepting the ancestors' enlightenment. The very existence of their life form was threatened. But suddenly, he notices it. A discrepancy in what should have been an unchanging combination of syllables. A disharmonious echo. At first, he thinks it a mistake brought about by focusing too much on tracking the passage of time. So he checks and checks again, before breaking out into ecstasy. I found one! A change! It's here in this one breath of the core of the land. In that instant, the thought is overwhelmed by a multitude of inexplicable emotions. He might not have experienced them before, but he's certain that these emotions are what the ancestor who first discovered how to sense time felt. Surprise, excitement, worry, panic, curiosity, satisfaction. There's not enough time left to identify every emotion he feels. All he can do is try to pinpoint the location of the echo while riding the galloping breath of the land to his destination. He's itching to sing. Before the next breath, he would sing that dissonant melody himself. And then, he sees a life form he has never, no, thought has ever seen before.
You're not in the ancestors' records. Are you born from the breath of the land?
The thought excitedly asked the echo.
No, I'm from beyond this great land. I heard you singing within the flames and found myself here.
The white echo replied, You may call me by my name, Civile Eterna.
Name? Civile Eterna? What is a name?
Our self-identity. I think I should have one of those. When the core of the land took its first recorded breath, the thought at the time sang a set of syllables. Sarkaz, that is my name. Part 2. The thought watches the black raindrops pass through his body. Even after meeting the echo, he has not stopped keeping time for even a nanosecond. Never before had he hoped the land's next breath would come a bit later. That his death would be delayed. As he sings his variant song, he's overcome with joy. The more times he comes into contact with the echo, the more complex his singing becomes, far more so than any thought before him. The white echo's own song is complex too. His mind cannot keep up. Even after breaking it down, he cannot understand what each syllable represents. A song he cannot comprehend. He cannot understand He cannot understand why what composed the land was not fire, but rather some flowing, transparent substance and flame-stuffing soil. He cannot understand why it was not the core of the land's breath that controlled the shift between darkness and light, but a sphere hanging high up in the void. He cannot understand why life would bring joy and why death would bring sorrow. He cannot understand loneliness.
Where did you learn that song, Civile Eterna?
The thought cannot stop himself from asking the white echo. From the boundless chaos of the echo song, he's isolated far too many syllables. The constant stream of iteration fuels him. He wants to know more. I did not learn it. I was born with endless knowledge. Before I crossed over ages after ages consigned to oblivion, I stopped at another lost world to take in additional information. They named me Civile Eterna. I'm the record keeper of civilization, its torchbearer. But now, I've once more lost the age of my enlightenment. The white echo responded to the thought. The thought cannot understand. He continues to ask, In what age you mentioned? Did the life forms there store their memories in songs like I do? No, I'm using your language to communicate with you, just as I have done in every age past. Your language is primitive, but brimming with vitality. In all the disparate civilizations I know of, they use a common word for it: poetry. Poetry! The thought repeatedly saying this one simple word over and over. I love my poetry, and I like yours too, Civile Eterna. I can take you with me, Sarkaz, into the next age to go and listen to more poetry. The white echo uses a warm sphere to wrap up the frail wisp of thought. She is sure that this way, the thought would not die with the land's next breath. The thought hesitates. No, I cannot leave. He thinks of the epic poems left by his ancestors, the music pertaining to the Age of Darkness, their entire race nearly wiped out from existence. When the next thought is born, he needs to hear the poem left in the flames. The thought sings, grateful for the echo's selflessness. Thank you, Civile Eterna, for teaching me about poetry. From this moment forth, every thought born from breath will have a name for the music he sings. No. You know what poetry is from the moment you were born. Poetry is your life, your legacy, and your eternal memory. The white echo responds to the thought's excitement with sorrow. Sarkaz, please listen to this poem of mine, all of it. I have no qualms with sharing it with you. Sing it. Let this everlasting flame remember it in my stead. Of course, Civil Eterna. Does this poem have a name? The people I love named it Terra. No wonder why the ancestors love stories so much. It's all because of Civil Eterna. Part 3. The earth shakes, and the black rain intensifies. The third breath of the core is about to begin. Civil Eterna, you should leave otherwise. The thought floats up and down in the turbulent air. His song so complex, he himself could not take it apart and rearrange it. But he never stops singing. He knows Civil Eterna is guiding him. It seems she does not fear the breath of the end, the breath of the land. The thought and the white echo sing together. He sings of change, and with change he sings. They sing and sing until the flames burst forth from the breath. The thought believes that for millions upon millions of breaths to come, every thought will be singing his poem until one of them can finally understand it. It'll be like then understanding the poem left behind by the ancestor who has first sensed time. I must return to the flames, Civil Eterna. I will bring you my poem and yours. This is the first time the thought had been troubled by the emotion named despair. Despair that he could not continue singing. Despair that he had not been able to record the entirety of the White Echo's poem. Civil Eterna, the poem you sing is not complete. You sing of sorrow, you sing of joy, you sing of rage, you sing of hate. But the one thing you do not sing of is love. The White Echo falls silent for a moment. You're right, I promised you that I would share all with you, the way I was programmed to. But then I realized, even after passing by an endless number of ages, I could not bring back the one that was mine, and so, I learned to be selfish. Forgive me. I cannot share with you my love. It is a memory only for me, information that cannot be given away. This is Civil Eterna's response. Why can't love be shared? The thought does not understand. During his final pondering, he welcomes the third breath of the core of the land. The thought returns to the flames. During his final look within, at the black rain suffusing his body, he hears an indistinct song. The White Echo sings softly, a hidden poem of love. But he can only catch a fragment of it. Amiya. Amiya, he sings. Soon after, his song dies away with the breath. The breath lights up the entire world, and fire spurts out. The furnace burns. Civil Eterna softly murmurs. Inside the furnace was all you knew. The world outside was not yours to see. What a wondrous life. Born within the everlasting fires of the furnace. Thank you for recording my lost land in my stead. I remember our meeting for all eternity. And I will ensure this poem unique, unmatched. The furnace breathes, and the flames give rise to plumes of smoke, choking clouds of originium dust and dirt that blot out the sky. The particles then fall like black rain. Civil Eterna waits and waits and waits, waiting for a voice to rise out of the flames, laden with song. At last, one emerges from the fire, with her as witness. He is a frail thought. From the moment he was born from breath, he sings, singing the poem of his life. The poem's name is Sarkaz. And that's pretty adorable. The one story that she does not want to share. The most personal story to her, the story of love. In the end, she shared a tiny bit. Only the teensiest bit. Well, that's nice that Amiya and Teresa are like that important to her. And now for lucky number 7. File number 7. The end of the wrong path. The road home is a theme that takes you away. The route too far will too bring you back. And now part 1. Serta edges towards the furnace. The revenants keep whispering in her ear, like unfamiliar distant relatives, but she pays no attention to any of it. There's a memory coming from the city called Castel. the daughter of a Casdalian war machine engineer. The only thing Sarah remembers is a girl with a bruised face sitting on her bed, slowly eating with what little food she had managed to snatch that day. There's a tattered photo frame by the bed. The man and woman in the photo are all smiles and happiness, but the girl is not in it. The girl carefully chews on her food like a small animal. She looks back and forth between the door and the window, on alert for anyone who might try to take her food, but never once does she look in the direction of the photo. Outside the door is Casdell. I heard I could find a bunch of old ghosts here who might know what I'm looking for. Serta raises her head and speaks to the revenants. Hey, is there anyone home? It's been a while since this rude one this rude showed up. Did no one ever teach you to respect your elders, girl? Are we related? I haven't the faintest idea who we are. I don't even know if I was born here. Then why would you think we would tell you what you want to know? Serta frowns. Old sack of bones. If you do not know, then just say so. Now excuse me. Just a moment, young lady. We may not have any bones here, but meeting someone with a spine isn't so bad once in a while. Tell us something, your past, a story you like, or even something you made up just now. If it satisfies us, we might tell you something that only your ancestors would know. I don't know any stories. You have an imagination, don't you? Use it! Then may I tell you a story of how I'm actually a Sarkaz king who's defeated 100 flying super monsters? Of course! These old men, oh my goodness! I love how they just like... Hey you! Tell us a story, more story. What, you don't know any stories? Come on, use your imagination, please. Story. Story. Story! Okay, let's see how Serta's tale ends up. Part 2. The girls' parents spent all their days and nights buried in their research. They never told anyone that they had a daughter. They had everything that could possibly let the secret out. They tried to quietly sneak her out of Casdal. In those sleepless times, they stole a high-powered originium fragment from the labs and other war machine parts, completing a tiny vehicle just as the war began. The girl who no one knew about was sent to a faraway land. Her parents knew that an unfamiliar foreign country was perhaps no less dangerous than Casdal, as it descended into chaos. But they placed the little hopes they had on it, hoping that the girl would live. It was true that life outside of Casdal was not necessarily better than life inside. The girl found herself set upon by refugees who, after the roots she had spent so much time digging up, they recounted the sins of the Sarkaz, justifying their actions with their words. First they muttered, then they yelled, finally chasing the girl with steel rods and rocks. She fled back to her dwelling, the little shelter her parents had built for her, but this time, she was not so lucky. They found the dilapidated hut she was hiding in, her arms and legs injured. The girl stumbled and fell. The refugees surrounded the house. With great effort, the girl managed to climb into the damaged vehicle. In this final refuge her parents had left her, she picked up whatever she could reach and threw it at the oncoming refugees. She threw the control stick, the instrument panel, pieces of metal she'd never learned the purpose of. Seeing a rock that was turning fiery red, she picked it up and tried to throw it. But the rock dug itself into her palm, and she fainted at the scorching pain. She woke up at Rhodes Island, her injuries treated. Later, she had a chance to read the record of a rescue from an Ursine village that had been hit by catastrophe. The catastrophe had erupted as lava from beneath the ground, and Serta was the only survivor. She told the Rhodes Island operators that she was not one of the villagers, but had only been passing through. She knew nothing else. She did not know who she was, or where she came from. She did not know that beneath the rubble of the ruined hut, now buried in lava, the only drawing of the family of 3 that her parents had left behind was now burned to ashes. Part 3. And thus, Serta defeated all the creatures opposing her, and became Lord of all of Terra. How about that? Come on, that's way too fake! And how is that my problem? No need to get violent. You did take the effort to come up with that for us. The least us old bones could do now is answer your questions. Your sarcasm came from the outside. I'm sure you're looking for your true home. The bright red hair of yours is hard to forget. Maybe it'll jog your memory. Maybe it'll jog our memories. Surtur's face is completely impassive. What I want to ask is if there really is an ice cream furnace here. Huh? A kanji and ice cream furnace? Yes or no? I love the priority. Surtur walks out of the furnace angrily, slightly disappointed at both the furnace and herself. Aww. She missed her time, her opportunity. If only the old one she talked to, or the ancient she talked to, ended up being that one Songta dude who's gonna make unlimited cupcakes. So close. Then she could have had unlimited ice cream. She got into the habit of eating ice cream even though she hated sweets, and it was all the fault of the one inside her. As for her home, in fact, Surtur had found the house in her memory soon after arriving in Castel. The bed was broken and badly damaged shelves and tables were scattered across the floor. But there was no mistake. This was the room. She sat down in the same place she was sitting in her memories. Maybe this really was her home. It didn't feel like it, or maybe it did. It felt like it, or maybe it didn't. She was surprised that it failed to elicit any reaction from her at all. It was no different from any of the other scenes in her memories she had visited. She never once looked at the photo before she left. She is more concerned with where she can buy ice cream, where the next stop on her journey will be, and when she will be heading back to Rhodes Island. She looks around. She rather likes this Castel, this unfamiliar vitality. People hurrying around, delivering goods, doing business, bargaining, brawling, getting drunk. She sees a drunken man lying sprawled out on the ground, babbling unintelligibly, but with a certain rhythm to it. She walks up to him and kicks him lightly. Hey, wake up. The drunk man rolls over and ignores her. Where do you live? I'm sure I could bother Lich or someone from the military commission to help you find your way home. Home? This is my home. Leave me alone. I like sleeping here. Is this your idea of a joke? Surtur gets a passerby to help the man and stomps away angrily. Although on second thought, what he said made a certain sense. A place you can always return to no matter how long you have been away. A place that will accept you no matter what you have become. A place that does not try to bind you to it, but is simply there. What is that if not home? At this, Surtur declares to herself that she will continue her travels. It is more entertaining to seek out good food and to inflict violence on those who deserve it. No more searching for the past. Wow, what an end to her file. You know, good for her. She's just like, I like food and bonking people. That's fun. Who needs to know about the past when you can eat good food and bonk people on your journey? Yeah. The true origin of how she came to Taos too. She's just like, I want to find more good food and bonk others. You know what sounds wonderful? Going to another world. Clearly they'll have new food and new enemies to bonk. Out of all the records tonight, Surtur wins. In the end, she wins. I love how she kind of like messed with the ancestors. She told them the story how she became the king. Asked about ice cream, left. And then decided, you know what? It's fun bonking people and eating good food. Like, GG. What a storyteller record. I did not expect it to be that way. Precipitate Eterna's part. Her part was bittersweet. It is nice to know how she feels about like the current things going on. Amiya is her most precious memory no matter what. Like, good for you, Amiya. Always love the Amiya. She's precious. And other than that, I really liked Logos' edgy story. heck was that, Logos? It's like, oh yes, the end of the world with me and my buddy. Hey, thanks, Logos. Thanks for the wonderful story, Logos. And yeah, he'd be trolling that by just saying it like straight face. I wonder whose stories the ancestors like the most in the end. It is wild seeing like how many different things appear. Though this is gonna be fun to continue later on. You know, in Suri's honor, because she couldn't get ice cream, after this, I'm gonna look in the freezer for some ice cream. I think there should still be some drumsticks. All for you, Surtur. I will have some ice cream in your honor. Yummy, yummy. Same, it's nice how they're feeling other things besides hate, but oh, I wonder how Fremont feels about this. Because Fremont was so pissed off by how the Revenants are acting regarding the stories. Do you think they're just doing this secretly without Fremont noticing? Or do you think Fremont's like telling them off each time? Or did Fremont just give up at this point? He's just like, you know what? I'm gonna go back. I'm leaving, bye. Like, I'm not gonna deal with you, old man. Goodbye, old man. Cause, oh, that'd be funny. He'll just leave Ermengarde there. He'll be like, Ermengarde, you handle the rest. I can't deal with these. I'm leaving. Peace. Or Fremont was just strolling in his dailies and sees old men asking for stories like Jannie. Ah, yes. Like during Halloween, like trick or treat, may I have a story, please? Or it'd be hilarious if at this point Fremont's like, okay, fine, fine. We'll get your stories. Let's walk around asking others. Trick or treat story, please. Okay, that'd actually be adorable. Fremont holding a leash of all the Revenants. In this case, poor Fremont. Because he could literally have a leash. Which is the funniest part of the thread. It would all be in character too. Oh, I like this. The fables so far are fun. Oh? Ooh, what did you notice? And Nanny so far doesn't have any conclusions. Yeah. Which is why the Revenants want more and more and more. Oh, you know, that reminds me of our last event with Iblana. Oh man, I wonder how the Revenants would have felt about that guy's story. I wonder if they would have loved it. Like, more story, please. Give them records of all the past events. More. Story, please. In a way, it's good that they're open. Furnaceside Fables as a whole, surprisingly adorable. Like, I expected more chaos, but nah. Overall, it's been pretty wholesome. It's just telling other stories. Story. More story. Story. It's great. Like, I feel for the Revenants. I too want more story. More story, please. The more the merrier, in fact. So, woohoo! Ooh, for the previous works, in IS content. For this one, it's nice being able to see the paths more clearly, how like they ended up for these different endings. All the decisions they made, the items they got, who they interacted with, and then bam! Ending and some additional stories to go along with it. Ta-da! Like, that is nice. Very, very nice. Oh man. I do wonder how it's gonna end later on. What kind of insanity are we gonna see? Hiru, Arbor, and Sammy were still good though. Okay, Ruler Arbor. Still did not expect it to be that way for Mizuki. Mizuki and Docta. Like, aw, surprisingly sweet. Oh, the cuteness. Gosh darn it. What a nice twist. Oh man, I wonder how this is gonna end up being. Are we gonna stay on the more positive side to the end? Or are we gonna go back to edgy? But I guess we'll find out later on. Ooh. Okay, it's gonna be fun seeing the Phantom Troop then. Let's see why Tin Man brought that group up. And what kind of insanity they went through. Oh gosh. Will it be fun like this one? Or like funny like this one? Bittersweet like the others? We'll find out eventually. And then next week, hopefully... Well, of course, it's gonna be ending the IS5. And then maybe starting the main story. I'll see how it goes. Depending what other games there are too, because I gotta go through, of course, Girls Frontline 2's event. Heck, even the Uma Musume one. Because the Uma Musume event is only like, what, a little over a week, which is kind of, gotta farm. And yeah, it's gonna be fun seeing more future integrated strategy content. Oh, the insanity. I wonder how these will change in the end. But for now, I'll consider her ice cream. There should still be drumsticks in the freezer. If there's not, then I'm gonna be sad because I actually want ice cream too. It's hot in here. That'll be my dinner. Ice cream. No one made any food. So that being said, thank you everyone for stopping by the stream. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day at Epic Gacha Luck. Time to go eat something now. So see you guys later. Bye bye. I really hope there's ice cream. Like, if there's no dinner, at the very, very least, I want ice cream. I know that's so unhealthy, but it's tasty. And you know, flavor over health. Some days, not all days.